Greetings everybody and welcome back to another episode of Building with Fret. Hopefully you're having a good day today. I'm having a pretty good day myself. It's good to be back here in the world again. It's been a little bit. I was working on another game and then I was preparing things for this episode because today is a big episode for us. It's going to be an awesome episode. I'm very excited about this one. We're going to be transforming this area here around our sawmill into a beautiful forestry settlement. We're going to get some houses in here. We're going to get a horse stable going here. We're going to get a cart workshop in here. We're going to get some carts going. And it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful build that will really kind of set this whole area together. And I'm very, very excited about it. So, we're going to get right on into it because we've got a lot to do today. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is this sand here I'm going to get rid of. I'm going to do that off camera, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to take all of this out, replace it with dirt, and get it good to go. The other thing we're going to do, and this is something we're going to do together, is we're actually going to build some cliffs today. And I wanted to show you kind of my process a little bit of building cliffs. Because one of the houses, for example, I want to put up here, and it's kind of, it's not ultra steep, but it's steep enough that I think a cliff would probably look a little bit better than just, you know, setting it into the side of the hill would. So what I really want to do, and this is how I typically would look to do cliffs to begin with, is kind of shape where I want the cliff to go. From the pre-existing edge or whatever that I have, and then we're going to kind of work into that shape. And when I say roughly, literally just put in a square down or whatever, a shape. So I'll probably have the cliff come out a little bit here. That doesn't mean this is going to be square, it just means that this is the rough area we're going to work in. So that's 9 right there that we can do. And we'll probably bring it in a little bit, bring it in some more, and then probably bring it back to about there. So that's going to be roughly our cliff and the size of our cliff here. What we will do then is I will come out here with probably some cobblestone to start with, and we'll actually shape this now more carefully into a more natural looking shape. You know, I know that that's going to be more than enough for my house to sit on top of, and we can work out from this now to build our shape here. So, for example, we could do something a little bit like this. Yeah, we'll add a little bit of roughness to it around the edge. Yes, hello, pig. You're happy to see me today. So yeah, just something like that to start with. Now we've got like a more natural looking face to this. We're going to work out how tall we want to make it. Obviously in our case it's 3. We'll probably make it 4 in some places for a bit of height variety. So we'll put this down. And yeah, we'll wrap that around like that. What you would also want to do is kind of stack up some stones at the bottom. If you have slabs, even better. If you have stairs, even better. Because we really want to get a natural looking shape to the cliff. You can knock bits out of it if you want to. You can stack pieces up. I'm going to need to get more cobble here. But already you can kind of see we've got beginnings of a natural shape there. And when I say cliffs, I'm talking like mini cliffs. It's a whole different thing if you're going to be building, say, the cliff edges around a river or something. That's a different kind of task. But for like mini cliffs that you just want to use to vary the heights in your builds. And I can't stress this enough. One of the most interesting things to do when building projects like little villages and things like that is to change up the height. It does so much if you change up the height of your houses and things and you build paths up here. So for example, I've got a perfect spot here now for a path to this house. This is, you know, and then you stood down here, and you've got a house up there and a house down here. You've got this variation, and from a distance, say if I was stood over there, I'm going to see both houses. If they were both at the same level, I'm going to see this house, but then that one is going to be mostly blocked because the house is in front of it. So I think it's a really, really useful technique to vary up the height of your builds so that you can see more of them. You know, you've worked hard on those builds. You want them to look good, and you want to be able to see them from different parts of your world. So, like I say, I cannot stress that enough as being a very useful useful thing to do. So as for us here, we're pretty much good to go here. I'm still just sort of working on the shape and refining the shape a little bit. I'm going to be kind of limited here because of my lack of stairs and slabs. Don't forget to put a few stones down at the bottom as well, because, you know, parts of the cliff will have fell down. You know, you can even do some diagonal pieces too. Add some grass in there. You might want to add a little bit of dirt as well, blending your cliff into the nearby environment. That's another important thing that you can do. Yes, you're very noisy, I know. They want attention, you see. That's what they love, those cows. They love that attention. And up here, we're going to fill this in now a little bit. And we'll add a little bit of raised up grass here and there as well. And the next thing I'll need to do now is sort of bring this back to here with dirt, which I can do quite easily. And I'm going to fill in the inside here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change out the cobble for a mixture of stone and probably some moss stone here and there. The reason I built this out of cobble to begin with is I don't have any way of getting smooth stone and then changing it without losing it. So I'm building it out of another material. If you have access to smooth stone without turning it into cobble, then you could just go ahead and build it out of smooth stone straight away. So I'm going to work on this cliff a bit more, and then we'll see what it looks like afterwards. So I have set up a couple of those cliffs now. That's the one we worked on before. And this is the second one I made over there. I turned this area into a little bit of a pond and added a little bit of a curved edge there. I also built another cliff over here as well. So I've got 3 cliffs now in the area, which I'm quite pleased about. I'll grab that sapling. Looking pretty good. I like these cliffs. And these cliffs, like I said before, really help differentiate the height of the builds. Something else I also did a little section of, just to get a feel for, is I updated the path a bit here. Following comments on the last episode, I see the point. The path wasn't very good. So what I've decided to do is update this a little bit and just kind of keep the same shape. I've just added some blocks on the side, replaced some with dirt. And it's pretty much, you know, just roughing up the path a bit, making it a little bit more well-weathered. And I'm probably going to replicate that look across the rest of the path, because I really like this compared to that. It was very rigid before. A path that's been well-traveled like this would kind of be overgrown in places and broken up a little bit. I like that. I like that a lot. However, what I'm going to be working on next is actually putting together the log cabins, and I want to spend some time talking to you about modular housing, which is something I've learned to do for this particular project. And we'll have to jump into the creative world for me to do that. Okay, so here we are in the creative world, and I want to talk to you a second about how I've been putting together this settlement. And I decided to use a concept called modular builds for this one. And this is not a technique I invented myself. This is a technique I actually got from another YouTuber called BOO, who did something similar for his village in a different style. But the concept is the same. So you start with a basic shape. For me, it's just this shape here. It's a 7 by 9 by 5 square box. I just made it out of red wool here so you can see it. And then you build a house around it. So in my case, this was the first one I designed. You can see the shape on the interior there. Yeah, so you can see the shape on the interior there. I've added some logs around it for some depth. You know, I've put the roof in, add a little crossbeam on the side. Here's something unique I did as well. I used doors for windows because from a distance, I think that looks better. You know, it's like an old-style wooden window rather than just putting some glass in there. Added a little chimney, put some signs up, some ladders, just little detail pieces here. And all in all, we got a nice little design. Then what I did is I built the same thing, but I made small changes to it. So, for example, on this one, I've added a side piece here and changed up the dormers in the roof. On this one, I changed the shape. I added a front piece to it that sticks out at full height. We've got an extra piece on the back here. This one is a little longer, so it's 4 and 4 instead of 3 and 3. And when it comes to designing these modular houses, that's the main change. You just change something about it, make it a little bit different. You know, you could add a side piece on it, you could add a front piece on it, you could add a little tower to it. If you were doing a different style of build, you could definitely do more chimney type stuff. These are log cabins, so it's not really too suitable for this. But if you're doing stone houses, that's something you could look at. You could add something diagonal to it, possibly, you know. You could do rectangles into rectangles. You could change up the roof style is something else you could do. You could do some with slabs, some with stairs. You know, you can change the dormers in the roof. Just, there's so many different things you can think about doing that will give you a different look each time, even though it's based off of the same design. So as you can see here, each of these different cabins is quite different from the last one, even though they're all the same basic template. And this will enable me to create a settlement that feels similar and cohesive, but at the same time, each of the cabins feels slightly different. So that's just a technique for you to consider when designing a village of any kind, or a hamlet, or of a certain build style, you know, small builds that are very similar. Try this modular idea out, you know, build in creative mode, get something that you like, and then change small things about it. If you were doing larger builds, or doing something like a city, you know, with multi-story buildings and things like that, you're probably going to be designing each thing unique, so it's not as applicable. But for these smaller style builds, I think this is a great idea and can actually save you a lot of time and still produce some really nice results. So, back to the main world. And here we go. This is what the modular houses look like. Now they've actually been built in my world here. I've included 3 over here, there's one up there, and there's one up there as well. And these have really, really added a lot to this area. They've made it a lot more interesting. And that concept of the modular housing has worked really, really well. I really, really like this. Got that nice bridge we built before, but now we've just got a little extra bit of detail. I've also updated the path a bit more, so I've roughed up the path edges through here, as you can see. Just made the path a little bit more interesting, a little bit less plain, and I think that's a big improvement as well. What I want to spend some time doing with you now is actually doing a little bit of exterior decor, detail pieces on these houses, and how I kind of do some of my detail on builds. So you will see here, I have a special item that you normally wouldn't be able to obtain, leaves. Leaves were not obtainable until later on in Minecraft's development cycle, but I have acquired some. I wanted to share this with you, and I think it's going to make it a lot better, and I wanted this to be applicable to people who are watching the series, who are maybe playing in a more recent version of Minecraft. I also went out and collected a stack of each flower, more or less, as well. I did plant some reeds around. Nothing significant with that, just here and there, just added a couple of reeds. But what I wanted to do here is just kind of show you a little bit about how I like to decorate things with these leaves. Now, what I'm going to do here, you could use a different kind of material if you wanted to, but I'm just going to do this so that it kind of breaks up the ground a little bit, so it's not grass under the leaves and blending it together quite so much. I'm going to do a little bit of this, and I like to have them kind of, in places, be a little bit of a climber. So they kind of climb up the walls here and there, like an ivy would or something like that. I think that can look quite nice. You don't want to overdo it though. That's the thing with the decorations. Just want it to be kind of small here and there. Just add a little bit of detail. I'm going to plant some flowers out front. Get a nice little patch of flowers there. That's probably enough right there. Honestly, that might even be too much. Even at that. And we'll add a nice patch of yellow flowers around here. The more flowers and options you have access to, the better. If you're going to do flowers though, try and make them into little patches and keep all the flowers the same. Just having a jumble of random flowers doesn't really work very well. If you look at flowers out there in the real world, you'll find that there's a bunch of them together and similar. And you wouldn't find, you know, 15 different types of flowers in close proximity to each other, generally. Unless it's in a garden, then you might. But we're not really building gardens at the moment. So I thought I'd add a little bit back there as well. We'll add a little bit of one back here as well. Now, not all of them have to be under here. And we can also place them at ground level too. Don't be afraid to do that. That's another little technique that you can do to add a little bit of detail. I'm going to put a few down here. As for this, I think might break that one. And we might have a little bit of a hanging bush right there. And, you know, you just kind of have to eyeball it a little bit. You have to practice it and add little pieces, take little pieces away. And then once you've kind of found a happy balance with what you want, then it's good. I'm going to work on doing a bit more of this around here, and we'll come back and I'll show you a little bit more about what I mean. And there we go. So I have spent a bunch of time now adding leaves and flowers and updating the path, making some new paths. We actually have paths up to this one and over there now. And it's done a lot for us here. It's actually really brought it together. It feels a lot more lived in. I also added some of these sections here as well, where I've got little things stacked up outside some of the houses. You know, the things that might be stored or used. We've got one of those up here as well. In fact, I actually brought some rails. I guess I'm too short. I thought it was 4 I needed, but it looks like it's 6 to kind of tie that down. I'll have to get a few more. And yeah, I added some stuff up here as well. There's some stuff back there. Again, just to kind of add a little bit more detail and make it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to try and grow a big tree there, although it's not grown yet. I'm not sure if it will. I might have to look into that. I've also started laying out a plan here for the horse stable, which is going to be the next build I'm going to add here on this side now. So this is all kind of residential. This side is all going to be industry. So the only thing now I'm really thinking about adding in this area is more trees. It's the one thing I feel like it's missing. And we can do a lot with trees, because if we build some big trees in here, we'll get a lot of shadow. And that will add even more variation to the place. And it is a forestry settlement, right? Although you would think that any of the major trees that were here, they probably would have cut down to use for, you know, the build. So I'm not sure. Maybe there wouldn't really be many trees here. All of those would have been cut down and used. So I'm kind of torn on that a little bit. But I do think from a design perspective, adding some trees in here would actually really set in the whole build. But we'll see. Like I say, next I'm going to work on the horse stable, and then after that I'm going to add a cart workshop. I've got to rearrange some of the paths here, which is why I didn't go crazy updating this side. But everywhere up to the house has been updated now on that side. Okay, so I've been working very diligently now on the horse stable and cart workshop. And here we go. So here's our horse stable. I decided to go with a diagonal build this time. I wanted to kind of mix things up a little bit. So we've got 3 stables there. We also have a little storage area in here. A bit dim, but pretty good. Access to an upstairs. This is that tower with the window. I think it's fun to incorporate a tower sometimes, every once in a while. Just kind of breaks up that skyline. This, of course, was already here. And then we've got the cart workshop back here. Outside, we've got a work area with an actual cart in it. This is like a little forge section where like wheels and stuff would be forged or repaired. And then we've got the actual workshop here. Not got an interior yet, but we will add that. Access to the second floor. This is like a little pallet of goods that they might be bringing up here for repair supplies or wood from the sawmill to build new carts with, that type of thing. I had to kind of rearrange some of the terrain here. I've got some leaves down again using the techniques that we looked at before. The way that I sort of put this together was I kind of thought about a shape. I wanted it to be fairly large, and then I added the top piece to it, and then we added a piece on the side. I did do some searching on references for this one on Google, trying to come up with a cart workshop design. And I think it's an amalgamation of multiple things I saw. I knew I wanted a piece on the side to kind of make this kind of a wider build. There wasn't a whole lot from what I recall when I was searching. This was more inspired by some other stuff I've seen as far as Minecraft goes. I've seen diagonal builds done quite nicely, and the tower is kind of inspired from Fwip that I have seen him build many times before. I wanted to incorporate one of my own into this horse stable here. And I really think that together this has really made this area come together. There is more I could definitely add, and I would like to add. I would like to add probably a wood storage area there. I would like to add maybe another home up there, perhaps an under construction one, so like a half finished area. And I do think I want to build a tavern in this little gap here. It feels like right now there's a little space here between the houses, and we could definitely put something into that. Now it's going to start and get dark soon, but I'm hoping before it gets too dark I can give you a view from a vantage point I've been going to up here. And this really just shows the difference we've made. Look at that. This area looks so much better now and so much cooler. We've used a few different techniques. We've used the leaves. We've added some cool buildings around, some log cabins. We've added the cart workshop back there, the horse stable. We've just really been able to transform this area into something really interesting. And there's more that we can do. There's definitely more we will add to this. Before it was just a little bit of land, a bridge, and the sawmill there. Now it feels like this is a thriving community here. And we're definitely going to do more with it and add to it as time goes on. I'm still trying to get that tree to grow over there. I've not succeeded in that yet. There's definitely some cleanup here and there. But I think that's about all we have time for this episode. Before I head off, I just wanted to ask some feedback regarding this episode. And what style of building you prefer? Do you prefer to see sort of finished products like this that we talk about? Or would you rather see builds in construction? You know, and kind of talk you through what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Oh, I think I must have lost a flower there. Must have been too dark. Let me know what you would prefer to see as far as content goes, and I'll try my best to shape what it is I'm doing to that. Yeah, I got a little gradient going on here again from the cobble to the stone. I really like these doors here, with like a little hinge on it, big door. I really like that. Yeah, let me know what you would prefer to see, and if you have any questions as well about any of the builds that we've worked on today, put them down below in the comments, and I will hopefully see you again in the next one. All right. So take care. Thanks for watching.